These are ever-changing times. Because I ain't never, I said I ain't never.
Breaking news tonight, Diddy's $10 million defense starts today.
The terrible secret about Diddy that Aretha Franklin died with is finally starting to surface. She wasn't just a legend. She was close to Diddy, both professionally and personally. They worked together. She attended his parties. And now that Diddy is under investigation, people are looking at Aretha's role more seriously.
Is why there are so many pictures of her filming things. Like, this is a meme that we all laugh at, but this is really her. Maybe she wanted to see things through her own eyes. I don't know.
There are rumors she helped cover for him through business deals, estate silence, and financial protection. Some say she used her influence to help him behind the scenes.
Unsealed FBI documents detail how the agency spent years spying on Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, due to her connections to the Black Power and broader civil rights movement.
After she died, her estate was thrown into confusion. No official will, missing documents, and questionable deals. At the same time, Diddy's name kept appearing, not directly, but through people close to him. Now, investigators and fans are asking, what did Aretha know? This is the terrible secret about Diddy that Aretha Franklin died with, and it may explain more than anyone expected. On paper, their relationship looked like a casual, respectful bond between two music icons. But the more you dig, the more it starts to feel calculated, even strategic. Aretha Franklin wasn't just a legend in soul and gospel music. She was a gatekeeper. Her approval meant legitimacy, especially in an industry that often questioned Diddy's credibility outside of hip-hop. Their public connection began in the late 1990s. In 1998, Aretha released A Rose Is Still a Rose, an album that was marketed as a modern comeback. One of the tracks, Never Leave You Again, was produced by Sean Puff Daddy Combs himself.
Baby, I don't really like feeling all at your face.
That alone was a powerful co-sign. The Queen of Soul, embracing one of the most controversial figures in rap at the time. Diddy had just come off the explosive No Way Out era and was still being linked to the East Coast-West Coast feud that left Biggie and Tupac dead. Aretha knew that. She still worked with him, but the studio wasn't where it ended. Aretha Franklin was a repeat guest at Diddy's elite, invitation-only white parties, gatherings that were notoriously exclusive, filled with celebrities, billionaires, models, moguls, and secrets. One photo in particular from the 6th annual White Party in 2004 shows Aretha smiling alongside Diddy, dressed head to toe in white. No entourage, no handlers, just the two of them, like family.
Tell you something, if Miss Franklin was involved in some of them freak-off parties that Diddy be throwing, I do not want to know. I don't go into detail about it. I don't want to know, Suge. I really don't. There's just some things that are better left unsaid.
In interviews, Diddy gushed about her impact on the music industry, her grace, and her voice. But insiders say his admiration was more than just emotional. It was tactical. Diddy looked at Aretha like she was untouchable, like if she was in his corner, nothing could take him down. It wasn't just about music. It was about access. Aretha opened doors for Diddy in rooms he couldn't enter alone, particularly among old-school industry executives who didn't trust hip-hop's rise. With her at his side, he wasn't just a rapper-turned-mogul. He was a respected cultural figure. And Aretha seemed to benefit too. Throughout the early 2000s, she remained visible in the industry, booking high-profile appearances, tributes, and collaborations with young producers like Lauryn Hill and Jermaine Dupri. Some now believe Diddy played a role in keeping her brand modern and protected. But was it just mutual admiration? Or was there something deeper behind their alliance? Because right after Aretha passed in 2018, strange things started to happen with her estate. Rights were delayed, money was shuffled, family members began fighting over royalties, and documents were missing. And as more is exposed about Diddy's empire and who helped build it, People are wondering if Aretha was more than just a respected elder in his circle. She might have been part of the machine, and that's where things start getting dark. On the surface, Aretha Franklin's brand was built on soul, faith, and royalty. She was the voice of gospel-rooted resilience, a civil rights icon with church-bred vocals and public integrity. But behind the curtain, rumors point to something much more complicated. A quiet financial alliance with one of the most controversial moguls in music history, Sean "Diddy" Combs. Sources close to both estates say the relationship between Diddy and Aretha wasn't just about admiration or tribute songs. It may have been about mutual financial protection. Some claim Aretha invested in Combs' more private ventures. Not the big flashy brands, but the side companies, the holding groups, the licensing entities that didn't make headlines, but generated serious cash. This wasn't unusual in the world of music royalty. Older artists with large back catalogs often moved their money into modern ventures to keep their wealth growing. But with Diddy, the whispers say it went beyond that. One persistent theory suggests Aretha used shell entities or trusts, the kind built to quietly move royalties, to inject capital into Diddy's enterprises. These weren't just brand collabs. These were alleged financial ties, quiet ones, potentially linking her to ventures that have now come under scrutiny in federal investigations. The reason this matters, because many of Diddy's ventures, especially those that operated off the books, are now rumored to have been used for laundering money. Shady real estate plays, creative agencies that never released a campaign, entertainment subsidiaries that had no traceable product but showed six-figure movement on the books, and one name that allegedly appeared again and again on internal documents. Aretha's, not her stage name, not Aretha Franklin, the performer, but aliases and corporations traced back to her catalog. According to a former Bad Boy associate who spoke anonymously after Diddy's legal troubles began mounting in 2024, people knew Aretha was protected, but they didn't know she was leveraged too. Her name gave Diddy cover. Some even believe her catalog, which included timeless classics still earning royalties decades after release, may have been used as a laundering mechanism. Because once money is cleaned through a legendary catalog, it becomes nearly untouchable. Who's going to audit the Queen of Soul? There's no hard proof tying her estate directly to illegal activity, but the speculation got louder after her passing in 2018, when the family couldn't find a formal will. Only handwritten notes, some allegedly altered, some contested in court. Documents that should have declared how her $80 million fortune would be managed turned into legal chaos. And amid that chaos, powerful people began securing licensing rights, publishing shares, and control over Aretha's image. One name, again, stood out: Diddy. While it hasn't been publicly confirmed whether he profited from these maneuvers, several business filings, now being re-examined, place individuals close to him in negotiation roles during the estate's peak period of confusion. And it's that confusion that some believe was no accident. The question now is, did Aretha know what she was helping build? Or was she simply too loyal and too trusting to question how her name and catalog were being used? Because if the rumors are true, the Queen of Soul may have helped bankroll an empire built on manipulation, silence, and secrecy. And this empire wasn't just about money, it was about influence. By the time Aretha Franklin passed away in 2018, her reputation was unshakable. She had survived 6 decades in the industry, crossing genres, generations, and presidential administrations. But behind the applause and honors, a more uncomfortable question has started to echo louder, especially now, with federal prosecutors tearing apart Diddy's empire. Did Aretha Franklin know what Diddy was doing all along? Some say no, that she was elderly, detached from modern business trends, and far removed from the day-to-day details of what Combs was up to. But others, especially former Bad Boy insiders and music industry accountants, aren't so sure. They point to specific deals, specific overlaps, and financial flows that don't seem accidental.
How competitive it's going to be.
One theory that's gaining traction is that Aretha's catalog and brand may have been used as a cleansing agent for dirty money, not just as an investment asset, but as a channel. In Diddy's case, authorities have been investigating what they describe as a pattern. Money funneled into old royalty accounts, shell company licensing deals, and international publishing splits that lead to obscure destinations. Aretha Franklin's name appears in more than one of those streams. During her lifetime, Aretha had full control of her royalties. But control doesn't mean isolation. Through various trusts and legal advisors, third parties were allowed access, and in some cases, given sign-off power on behalf of her entities. Among those intermediaries were firms with links to entertainment figures now caught up in the same lawsuits circling Diddy's name. The bigger issue, though, isn't just about accounting. It's about silence. According to two separate sources, one, a former publishing executive, the other, a longtime associate of Franklin's family, Aretha received several consultations from Diddy's business team in the early 2000s regarding digital rights, streaming royalties, and overseas licensing. One of those meetings, allegedly held at a Manhattan hotel suite, was reportedly described as tense but persuasive. The goal? Get Aretha to sign off on international publishing structures that would reroute earnings into different jurisdictions. She agreed, and after that, Diddy's business quietly expanded into international licensing markets at the same time Aretha's catalog gained new visibility in foreign campaigns and streaming platforms. Coincidence? Maybe, but the timeline overlaps too perfectly for some, and it wasn't just financial, there were backdoor deals too. In the early 2010s, when an R&B artist was preparing to sue Bad Boy Records over unpaid royalties, Aretha allegedly reached out personally, urging them to settle quietly. According to someone familiar with the case, the artist claimed Aretha told them, "You don't want to make enemies in this business. It's better to keep your name clean and your money moving." That case never made it to court. It vanished. Now, with Diddy facing mounting legal challenges, including accusations of sexual misconduct, witness tampering, and corporate fraud, Aretha's involvement is being looked at in a whole new light. Was she protecting herself, protecting him, or protecting something even bigger? Some speculate Aretha feared exposure would unravel more than just a business tie. It would unravel her legacy. Others believe she stayed quiet out of loyalty or fear of retaliation. Either way, her silence wasn't passive. It was protective. And if she truly understood what Diddy was orchestrating behind closed doors, her decision to never speak out, not once, may have been one of the most consequential choices of her life. Because silence doesn't always mean ignorance. Sometimes it means complicity. In the music business, not every power move is made in the boardroom. Some of the most consequential deals, the ones that determine careers, kill lawsuits, or bury scandals, happen over whispered phone calls, closed-door meetings, and carefully orchestrated favors. And when it came to those moves, few people had more quiet pull than Aretha Franklin, especially when she spoke on behalf of Sean "Diddy" Combs. While many saw her as a regal figurehead, distant from industry drama, insiders tell a different story. Aretha wasn't just a legend. She was a broker, a fixer, a behind-the-scenes problem solver with enough credibility to sway both sides of a conflict. And Diddy used that. According to multiple sources familiar with past label disputes, Aretha would sometimes be called upon to intervene when Diddy found himself in hot water. Whether it was a beef with another artist, a lawsuit from a disgruntled producer, or a PR nightmare involving one of his parties. She never showed up directly in the legal paperwork, but her presence was felt. Quiet phone calls, personal favors, a well-timed endorsement or cancellation, and most of all, her ability to make people back down. One veteran music journalist recalled a dispute in 2005 involving a then up-and-coming R&B singer who was threatening to expose Diddy for breach of contract. The artist's team received a call from Aretha's camp, not to intimidate, but to mediate. The Queen offered a compromise, dropped the public statements in exchange for a private settlement and a performance slot at a televised tribute. The offer was accepted. The statements vanished, and the tribute aired. This wasn't an isolated incident. Another case, never reported in full, involved an award show boycott. Diddy allegedly called on Aretha to reach out to the organizers and smooth things over. She did. The boycott ended. The show went on, and Diddy walked away with another plaque for the wall.
Men rise to the occasion with no sweat. Right? Am I right or am I right?
Why did she help him? That's the question nobody can answer cleanly. Some say it was loyalty. Others say she was returning favors. But the darker speculation is this: that Aretha had skin in the game, that her own interests were tied up in Diddy's survival, that protecting him meant protecting her. Because if Diddy's house of cards fell, the shell companies, the publishing tricks, the laundering pipelines, then any documents with her name on them might surface too, and the timing was always careful. Aretha's interventions came when Diddy's reputation was under the most pressure, when public perception threatened to shift. That's when the Queen would step in, not with drama, not with legal firepower, but with grace, calm, and institutional weight. To the outside world, it looked like a mentor guiding a younger artist. But inside industry circles, it was something else entirely. A crisis manager in pearls and fur, protecting one of the most powerful, and now most scandal-ridden, names in music. Aretha Franklin didn't throw tantrums. She didn't threaten lawsuits. She didn't need to. All she had to do was pick up the phone, and people listened. Because when the Queen speaks, people fall in line. But what happens when the Queen stops speaking and leaves a legacy full of unanswered questions? When Aretha Franklin passed away in August 2018, the world mourned.
Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, has passed away at 76 years old.
Tributes poured in from across genres. Her funeral felt like a national event, but behind the scenes, something was already unraveling. And it had everything to do with money, control, and legacy. Within days of her passing, it became clear the Queen of Soul had left no formal, notarized will. Instead, multiple handwritten documents were found in her Detroit home. One tucked in a locked cabinet, another scribbled in a spiral notebook under a couch cushion. They named different beneficiaries, made contradictory claims about property, and raised more questions than answers. Her sons disputed the validity. The court got involved. The estate was thrown into chaos. And during that chaos, powerful figures began circling. Among the names mentioned quietly by those close to the estate was Sean "Diddy" Combs. Though never officially appointed to any role in the estate, whispers claim Diddy had a hand in several posthumous deals, licensing arrangements, brand management decisions, even discussions about biopics and tribute performances. According to one music executive, he wasn't on paper, but his people were everywhere. It didn't stop at tribute shows. One especially controversial move was the sudden reemergence of Aretha's catalog in digital campaigns linked to newer artists. Some of them connected to Diddy's network. Her vocals, legacy rights, and likeness were being used in ways that hadn't been discussed publicly before her death. Licensing contracts from that period are now being scrutinized for how and when they were signed, and by whom. Some believe Diddy, or his proxies, helped facilitate those deals during a time when Aretha's family was overwhelmed with grief and infighting. Even stranger was the way her name began appearing in projects that didn't seem to fit her brand. Hip-hop documentaries, fashion partnerships, and streaming compilations that prominently featured bad boy artists. One digital EP that remixed Aretha's classic vocals with modern trap beats briefly surfaced in 2020 before being pulled. No explanation given. It didn't feel like tribute. It felt like exploitation. And for those paying close attention, the pattern was familiar. Take control during confusion, lock down rights through legal gray areas, and cash in before questions can catch up. Some of Aretha's longtime fans and industry peers have spoken out, carefully, about how different her legacy looks now. The reverence is still there, but it's been layered with glossy marketing and suspicious partnerships. Her voice remains untouched, but the image being sold, that's no longer hers alone. And again, Diddy's name hovers in the background. Why would he be involved? The answer might be simple. He had already built an empire on image control, and Aretha, in death, was a brand more valuable than ever. Timeless, cross-generational, and historically bulletproof. Controlling part of that, even unofficially, meant power. Power that, if the rumors are true, he may have been quietly assembling years before her death. So now we're left asking, was this the plan all along? Was the Queen of Soul just another asset? A revered symbol used to shield something darker? Or did she knowingly set all of this in motion, playing a game we never realized she was part of? Whatever the answer, one thing is clear. The Aretha Franklin we remember, the icon, the matriarch, the truth teller, may have spent her final years guarding a secret. And now, with her gone and Diddy under federal investigation, that secret is closer than ever to breaking wide open. Aretha Franklin didn't leave behind a confession. She left behind contradictions. To the world, she was elegance and strength. The voice of a generation, the Queen of Soul. But to those who are now digging through contracts, estate filings, and silent partnerships tied to Sean Diddy Combs, her final years seem more complicated than anyone imagined. She wasn't a background character in Diddy's story. She was part of the foundation, a co-signer, a shield, maybe even a strategist. Whether she acted out of loyalty, fear, or quiet calculation, Aretha's fingerprints are all over moments now being re-examined in the light of Diddy's legal downfall. She was at the parties, on the credits, on the phone, in the rooms where things got fixed, and she never said a word. Some say she was manipulated. Others say she was just being loyal, returning favors, using her influence to protect a friend who needed her weight in the room. But more and more, the theory taking shape is that Aretha wasn't in the dark. She was part of the design. That's why fans are struggling now. Because if these rumors are true, if Aretha Franklin knowingly participated in laundering Diddy's money, covering his tracks, or helping him navigate industry power struggles, then one of music's most sacred legacies just got pulled into the dirt. Not because she sang the wrong notes, but because she may have helped someone else stay in power while the system chewed up everyone else. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.